And welcome to our post-16 open evening at Bradley Stoke Community School. I'm one of the head students here, Emma Mitchell.
And I'm Hannah, the other head student here.
We have the honour of hosting the presentation this evening, and we hope that you find your experience today really useful in showing you what our post-16 has to offer. And we hope that that will help you make a really good choice about where you want to study for the next 2 years of your education.
I'd now like to hand over to Mr. Moyer, our head teacher.
Thanks, Hannah and Emma. One of the reasons why I've asked, first of all, welcome, and lovely to see some familiar faces and some new ones too. Delighted to have you at Bradley Stoke. One of the reasons we asked Hannah and Emma to host this is really one of the things that we are trying to showcase tonight is what incredible young people we have at Bradley Stoke Community School, and also because I think it's really important for the young people sat here that you hear from other young people who were very recently sat exactly where you are about what some of the challenges and the issues and the quandaries and the decisions that they had to make. And it's all very well for me to stand up here. And obviously I'm going to say that we have got a fantastic post-16. But you're going to hear a lot from students tonight. And please, when you go and... if you haven't already, go and talk to the subject teachers, but please talk to the students who are with them as well, because that's really, really important. This year, probably more than any other year, this feels a really personal experience, and I'll explain why. So my eldest, Rory, is in year 13, so we've just been out visiting some universities, talking about whether he's going to go to university, do an apprenticeship, what he's going to do next, what that's going to look like, is he going to have a year out, etc., etc. So that experience with him is thinking about what happens at the end of this post-16 experience, and it's right there. We're really thinking about it. And if you want to know anything about student finance, I didn't say this in the first talk, watch Martin Lewis does a 1-hour lecture on YouTube, who does the Money Supermarket website. And I learned a lot that I had no idea about. I really highly recommend it if you've got a child about to go to university. So there's Rory. My other child, Lola, she's 16. She's at Gordano School in Portishead. That's where we live. So she is literally sat exactly where you are. And next week I'm going to go to the post-16 evening with her at Gordano School. But the reason I'm particularly sharing this is because I've always felt one of the things that would decide whether I'm doing a good enough job is if my school that I'm head teacher of, I would be really happy for my children to come to. And my child has now decided that it's either Gordano or here. And I'm really proud of that. I think she hasn't fully comprehended the nightmare that it is if one of your parents is the head teacher of the school and all of the potential scenarios that could play out there. But actually, when she is a real logical thinker, and she's thought about the opportunities that we offer that are a bit different from what she can do at Gordano. And she knows quite a lot of our staff. She knows Miss McComb, who you're going to talk to. And she's, again, can see that there's a great experience to be had here. So I guess, more so than ever, I can honestly say, this is a really personal experience and really reiterates a lot of the things that we do brilliantly here. So you're going to hear from Miss McComb in a second, who is the director of Post-16. Miss McComb's done her own apprenticeship here. She's worked in Post-16. She's been deputy director of Post-16. She stepped up to do that role 2 days a week last year, and now she's taken over full time in leading that role. And she's also got a brilliantly experienced team behind her, which is another reason why we have got such a strong Post-16. So we've also got Mr. Wesley, who's now doing what Miss McComb did as deputy head of Post-16. And we've also got some other individuals who you're going to hear lots about, so I'm not going to talk too much about them and steal their thunder. But Mr. Clark, who's just out front at the moment, one of the things that makes a real difference with our Post-16 is about the specialisms, is about the expertise that they have. So Mr. McClark is a learning mentor, but he used to work for Connections Careers Service, and he's always specialised in supporting post-18 young people. So university applications, apprenticeship applications, work, employment, all of those areas he is amazing at, and I'll let other people tell you a bit more about him and what their personal experience has been of how he has supported them. And the other thing that's quite different about our post-16 compared to the main school is we don't have tutor groups, and that's not by accident. That's because we've realised that at post-16 level, probably more so than any other, our young people need really personalised support. They don't need to hear about something in a group of 30. They need one-to-one time. And our academic mentors meet with them one-to-one to talk through any academic issues they've got, to talk through any pastoral issues, any personal problems, how they're getting on with their university application, have they sorted out their work experience placement, all of those things. They get that one-to-one personalised time. And we think that's really, really important. And actually, more importantly than I think that, or Miss McComb thinks that, the students' feedback to us, that makes a real difference to their experience in post-16. So that's another really key element about what we do, and I think we do really, really well. It's also important that, I'm sure lots of people sat here know this already, but we're part of an academy trust, the Olympus Academy Trust, and that includes all of the schools that you can see up there. And that's grown quite significantly over the last 4 years. But our post-16 partnership with Patchway and with Abbey Wood, and now with Winterbourne and BTA, has been in existence for over 10 years. And we're very used to working together. So we share all of the same exam specifications are taught across all of our centres. And that breadth of working together means that we can offer, you'll see how many courses in a second, over 42 different post-16 courses. If we were just a single school, we couldn't offer that many courses. So it really does broaden the opportunity for our young people. And it's something we've done for a long time. So we're really confident in what we do and how we share that. Because for some students, they might do some of their courses with us and a course in another centre. That certainly isn't uncommon. But it's really about, we're talking about Bradley Stoke tonight, and obviously with our partnership work with those other schools. And I'm just going to start off talking about one of those reasons, the consistently strong academic outcomes. Because young people are sat here, you're picking your qualifications that you want to do. That's going to be a really key point in your decision making. How well can I do? What's the track record like? How well will I be able to achieve? So those are our post-16 outcomes. And you can see that there's been real growth, real improvement. I'm going to show you another stat in a second. I appreciate as well that the 2019 was the last time we had external exams, and it's been teacher assessed grades. But we spent a lot of time working with our students and making sure that those were absolutely fair and consistent in what's happened over the last 2 years. And on top of that, I'm really proud of this. So these are the value added scores. So what that means is, so we're at the top there in South Gloss and Bristol, and this is from 2019 when these were based on external exams, and we added 1/4 of a grade to students' target grade on average. And as you can see, we beat a number of schools, including some independent schools in that area. I've already talked a bit about universities and university applications. And again, we're going to talk a bit more about how we support those. But we're really proud of these maps that we produce every year about where our students go next, our alumni students, and what their experiences are. And we often get them to come back into school to talk to you guys about where they've gone, how they got there, what happened next, and so on, because that's really useful to know. These are last year's students, and these are our highest performers. These guys were incredible. They're pretty much all straight A stars. A levels, whatever you hear in the media about exams getting easier, GCSEs getting easier, whatever, I can absolutely, definitively say A levels are as hard as they ever were. I talk with my wife, with our kids and with other people about, you might go on and do a degree, you might do all sorts of qualifications, but actually we think the A levels are probably the toughest thing that we've done. So these guys to get A stars across the board and distinction stars and vocational subjects is a phenomenal achievement, and they worked hard for them and they got great support. We want to support our students at all levels, whatever they want to go on and do next. And one area that we felt we needed greater support was Oxbridge applications, so applications from our students to get into Oxford and Cambridge universities. Partly because we didn't feel we had, looking at those amazing results our students are getting, they're the best universities in the world, and our students should be going there, or should be confident enough to apply to go there, and we needed to prepare them because it is a different experience of that. We know that independent schools do that really, really well. So one of the areas that we went out to get their expertise was to work with those independent schools who do a lot of applications to Oxbridge. And we're now part of a partnership that do mock interviews to prepare our young people. And I'm really proud of the fact that, you know, we've had 12 applicants last year, 13 applicants this year, and 4 got in each year. And hopefully we'll increase that as we get better at preparing them. But I'm just really proud that we had that many who were willing to have a go, who put themselves forwards to do that. You know, that's what we want to be growing with our young people. These are some of the 42 courses that I talked about, and again, you know, that's because we've got this consortium offer that we can offer that breadth, because it is a lot, and a lot of centres do not offer that same wealth of subject. So those are some of the academic reasons that I think, you know, our post-16 is really excels in. I'm going to pass it over to Miss McComb, who's going to talk to you about some of the pastoral and support reasons.
Thank you very much. I do have a habit of going the wrong way, so apologies. I will get it right eventually, but I do seem to go back and forth on the wrong slides. So one other thing that I think we have got, which is really one of our key strengths, is the personalised academic, careers and pastoral support that we are able to offer our students. We've already spoke about him a little bit today, but I'm hoping by the time you leave this room today, you're going to quite realise what a legend the man is up there. If you do see him, do speak to him. Mr. Clark, as Mr. Moyer has already said, was a careers advisor. He is specialised, he is skilled in supporting our student with post-18 applications. And actually, I know that Emma's going to speak to a little bit about the support he's offered in a minute, but actually I'm going to leave it mostly up to her. But what I can say is what Mr. Clark does is go absolutely beyond what anything that we can ask any member of staff in a school to do in supporting students with applications for post-18, but also from post-16 as well. So when we meet with students one-on-one in the next kind of few months, he's there to guide us and support us and say, if you're thinking about doing that, you need to think about doing this. And he does that from day one. His work has been kind of recognised by the local authority as best practice, but he's also, and we're really, really proud, as you can see on there, the quote from Ofsted, who just says that actually what they do, what Mr. Clark does, is go above and beyond. And actually we make sure that we provide destinations for our students which are right for them and which matches their career plan. We are thinking about what do you want to do in the future now, so we can support them with that. And if they don't know what they want to do yet, that's fine, but we want to keep all their options open so that when they do know, they've not closed any doors to them. So Mr. Clark, please don't go and speak to him if you've not seen him already. If you see him in Tesco, give him a wave, because every student's going to get to know him and everybody wants to make him their best friend. We also, as Mr. Moy has mentioned, have our academic mentors. Those academic mentors are trained in post-16 provision. So they are not just members of staff who kind of have said, this is what I'd like to do, or come and be part of the post-16. They are absolutely trained to support students. And again, I'm not going to talk much about them because I know Hannah's going to do so in a minute. But actually, what they do is they support students with their applications, they support students with their UCAS, they support students with their academic outcomes to help put interventions in place if they're needed, but they're also there to support students with the pastoral jump from GCSE to A-level. It would be really naive for me to stand here and say there's not a jump from GCSE to A-level. We've already kind of heard that despite the media, those A-levels are hard and those level 3 courses are hard. And actually, we really, really value and we think it's really important for students to have one-on-one support with an experienced, trained member of staff who's able to help them with the 16 to 18 curriculum and to maximise their outcomes so that, again, they're not shutting any doors to their futures. Lastly, one of our other kind of real strengths, I think, as a post-16 department is our strong and sustained links with local businesses. those links are really, really important to us, and we value them very, very highly. And the reason we value them very highly is, yes, lots of our students do go on to post-16, go on to university, and we have the maps kind of to look at the universities, but a growing number of our students are also going on to apprenticeships. And apprenticeships, I can assure you, I wish that sometimes when I'm talking to the students about apprenticeships, they were kind of going for apprenticeships when I was at school, because they weren't very competitive. They are now very, very competitive, and the grades you need to get into a level, kind of a degree apprenticeship, is really, really high. And so those links that we have with businesses are really important, because it helps prepare students for apprenticeships. So if I just show you some of the kind of relationships that we have with businesses in the local area. One example, and it's one that I really, really like, is the MOD mentoring programme. So what that means is that the MOD get some of their graduates to come in and work with our post-16 students in supporting them with, what does an apprenticeship application look like? What does an apprenticeship test centre day look like? What does an apprenticeship kind of interview look like? And we match the students with the graduates, and they work one-on-one, and the success that has had for our students has been invaluable. So we value those kind of business links, and we think they're really important. These are some of the places where our post-16 students are currently now working, and we like to get them back in, dust them off, and get them to talk to kind of students who are here with us now, because actually we have got a growing number of students who are applying to apprenticeships, and so we want to make sure that we are supporting all of those too. Lastly, I said I'd go the wrong way, didn't I? Lastly, we also think that one of our things that is really important is that we need to make sure that we are providing our students with a character education, okay? We all know that the job market is becoming much more competitive, and we know that universities and apprenticeships are going to ask for students to be doing more than just stuff in the classroom. So therefore, we think it's really important to prepare our students for this, and we do that by asking them to complete at least 1 hour of enrichment a week. Hannah's going to talk about the wide range of enrichment opportunities there are. Complete at least 1 week of work experience, and we think that is more important next year and this year than any other year, because you guys didn't get to do year 10 work experience. So we are really, really making sure that we're providing you with those opportunities so that you can tell future kind of apprenticeships, university applications, exactly what you've been up to. Gold Duke of Edinburgh, which is obviously very well regarded by universities, and the skills you get from that and the way it develops your character is fantastic. And lastly, we ask students to complete the Vesper Mindset programme. We're really proud of all our stuff we do with character development, and we think that the character development stuff is just important as what goes on inside the lessons. And actually, we were really, really grateful as well that Ofsted could see that when they visited us a couple of years ago. So let me just show you a little bit. There are some of our opportunities. And I won't keep that on there for too long, because Hannah is going to talk about them. But there are lots of opportunities available, and we expect students to be involved in those opportunities, because as I say, we want them to stand out more so than anybody else. The Vesper Academy, though, I am aware probably sounds a little bit alien to lots of you. It sounded alien to me until I started doing some research around it. But the Vesper Academy has had lots of research done on it. And basically what it shows is that those students who have high levels of vision, those students have high levels of effort, those students who have high levels of system, those students who have high levels of practice, and those students who have high levels of attitude do really, really well in their post-16 studies. So we want to make sure that we are providing students with all of these things. If you type Vesper into Google, you get a load of motorbikes. But if you type Vesper Academy, you can look at this yourself, and I do recommend it because it's really useful. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are providing students with the opportunities to have a high level of vision, to have a high level of effort. And so obviously that's kind of what we're doing. So what we ask the students to do is we ask students to complete a quiz at 3 different times in the year, and it gives them a Vesper score. And it breaks it down even further and says, your vision is at a 2. You have no idea what you want to do in the future. And we say, nope, that is absolutely fine that you don't know what you want to do in the future. Your Vesper score is a 2. Let's work between now and January when you do your next kind of quiz, and let's see if we can think and narrow down some of the things you might want to be interested in. I spoke to the Year 11 students a few weeks ago, and I think I spoke at Year 11 Parents' Evening to those students of BSCS, the parents of BSCS students. And I think one of the things that I can really say is important is knowing where you want to go. And it doesn't have to be set in stone, but if you know where you want to go, or if you start thinking about where you want to go, then it means that it makes the now easy, because you know exactly what you're working towards. So we then have lots of questions around practice, around systems, around efforts. We have lots of activities we ask the students to complete weekly, and we really just want to make sure that we are helping them to be as successful as they possibly can. Do you know what good revision looks like? Let's work on it together as a team. Your score suggests you don't do any revision at all at the moment, so let's work together and get better at that. I am going to hand over to Hannah and Emma, who are going to be able to talk to you a lot about their experiences of post-16.
Thank you, Ms. McCoo. Now, as head students, we'd like to tell you about our experiences. I'm currently studying biology, history and sociology, but biology A-level has really inspired me to continue this at university, and I'd like to do a zoology degree.
I'm currently studying history, geography and sociology. I've just submitted my university application to go and study international relations, but I'm also going to be applying for some law degree apprenticeships.
The first thing that I'd like to tell you about is something that I think is really profound here at BSCS, and that's our post-16 application support. It can be very daunting to apply for post-16, like Ms. McComb's already talked about. There's so many different subjects, and it's a big jump from GCSE. But I think that BSCS really provides that support for you. Something that's really unique is actually our bridging work. Bridging work is something that's given to you during the summer once you've chosen your subjects, and it gives you a little bit of a taster of what those subjects are going to offer. This can be something that could completely change your mind about the subjects that you want to do, or it can really tell you, actually, yeah, I'm completely comfortable doing these for 2 years. It's not too difficult, but it is challenging. And I know after your GCSEs, you might be a bit tired and want to rest, but I really do encourage you to engage with the bridging work. And even into term 1, once you've done that bridging work and you've chosen your subjects, you still have the opportunity to change whenever you want, and the teachers will be there to support you with that. Just pop them an email and let them know, because we don't want you to be doing something for 2 years if that's not really what you want to do.
Yes, thank you. Another thing that I love about our school is our environment. It's such a fun and friendly social atmosphere here, and me and Hannah have been at this school from year 7 all the way to year 13, but I appreciate that some of you sitting here today won't have come to BSCS secondary school, and I can appreciate that that must be very daunting, but I just want to encourage you that actually the staff here and the students go out their way to make you feel welcome, and a lot of my closest friends currently are people that I didn't know till I started my A-levels, which I think just shows that actually friendships change and you'll fit right in here. Also, some of the previous head students who have been where we are today were people that actually didn't come to BSCS before their A-levels, so there's nothing to stop you with your success here. We also have lovely facilities here at BSCS that I know not all schools can offer. So we have a lovely what's known as our Amber Zone. It's a really lovely big study area, very open space where we can kind of do quiet level work. We then have what's known as our green room. So that's our kind of common area. We have sofas, we have a kitchen where we can make our lunch or have coffees and teas between lessons. And that's just a really nice place, a very social place to hang out between lessons and at lunch times. And we also have a red zone, which is kind of a silent working place. And I think that's really nice at kind of our age to have that independence of knowing where you work best and having those really nice places to work and work alongside your friends.
As it's already been touched upon, the extracurricular activities and the enrichment here at BSCS is really engaging, and there is such a variety of things that you can get involved in. 1 hour a week might seem like something different or something that you're surprised by, but there are so many different things on offer, and I'm sure there's something that will interest you. Some of the enrichments that are on offer we've already spoke about, such as the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, which is really highly rewarded by universities and can really challenge you. And also there's things like the EPQ, or which is the Extended Project Qualification. Now this is something for those of you that might have a passion in something or something you'd like to research further. You can do a 5,000 word essay or a little project project with a 1,000-word essay, and this is also really highly rewarded by both universities and employers. We've also got things like the bar mock trial, if you're interested in law, where you get to have that kind of trial experience and get into those different types of roles in law. There's also modern foreign languages for business, or even first aid and sign language, and also team sports, which obviously is very different from what I've just said. So it's a very big variety of things that you can choose from. Also, extracurricular activities, volunteering, really important and really highly rewarded by universities and apprenticeships. And despite COVID-19, Emma and I have really got involved with some of the things that have been on offer, even if it's a little bit less than what you guys will be offered. For example, I'm a wellbeing ambassador, which is something I'm really passionate about. All the wellbeing ambassadors have these pink lanyards, and we support younger students with their mental health, and we get training to do this. And also, as you know, Emma and I are part of the student leadership team, which is something we're really passionate about, and Emma's going to talk a little bit more about that now.
Yes, so I couldn't recommend joining the student leadership team enough. It's such a great way to start leadership at a really young age. And what I love about our student leadership team at our school is that it's completely student-led and run. We do have support from teachers. Mr. Moyer comes and sits in our meetings, which I think just shows the really high level of respect between teachers and leadership listening to our ideas. But we basically get to pick what we want to work on for the year. So I'll tell you a few of the things we've picked to work on. So one of them is enrichment days and social activities. So this is what Hannah runs. So we look at how can we put on fun events for our students, because actually there's more to life than just work, and we want to have a good time during our post-16 experience. And especially with our year, you know, we lost out on having a prom, lost out on a lot of the events because of COVID. So at the end of year 12, the very last day, we put on a lovely picnic. Hannah organised for an ice cream van to come. We had music, we had games of rounders and football and dodgeball, and it was a really lovely time together. We also have the anti-bullying team and diversity and awareness team within the student leadership team. They basically look at, you know, making sure everyone feels really included within our school. And we also have the environmental team. So as you can see from some of the pictures up there, during the summer, the student leadership team gave up our own time to come, and we renovated the courtyards together to make them a really nice outdoor space for all of our students to use. And when you join the student leadership team, those things will change because you'll pick what you're passionate about and what you want to work on. But one of the things that we've done completely new this year was an idea that I had when running to be head student, which was to set up the BSCS podcast. Because of lockdown, we had bubbles. We kind of lost that community peer-to-peer support between year groups because we just couldn't mix anymore. So I thought the podcast would be a brilliant way of communicating between year groups and giving support to each other. And I'm really proud to say that that idea has materialised, and now the BSCS podcast is available on all listening platforms. So that basically means wherever you listen to your music, if you search BSCS podcast, it will definitely be there. And we have a range of different episodes. Our first episode is completely student-led, by the way. I host all the episodes and do research behind them. And our first episode is me interviewing Mr. Moyer, and we talk about toxic masculinity and the mental health crisis right now. We have other episodes where we get previous students on to talk about where they are now. So for example, we had a Bristol Rovers player came on to talk about his journey since leaving school. And we have a range of different podcasts. We have some more light-hearted episodes with me and Hannah giving advice. And one of them, which I'd really recommend you going and listening to, is how to pick your A-levels. And because we've been in your situation, we totally get how hard it is to go from 11 GCSEs to 3 A-levels. It's really hard to pick which ones you want to do. And it's only 20 minutes long. So I really hope that that does help you and gives you some ideas of how to pick your A-levels. But I just couldn't recommend student leadership team enough, really, and I think it just shows the amount and level of trust between teachers and students to take on such an ambitious idea like a podcast and support me in that and encourage me and say, yes, Emma, that is totally doable. I think shows a great relationship between staff and students at this school.
Something that I'm really reliant on and I find really valuable at BSCS is the academic mentors, which we've already spoken about briefly. In year 12, when you're assigned that teacher and you have those frequent meetings with them, that constant support in all areas of post-16 life is so invaluable, and I'm sure Emma can agree with me. having that teacher that you can just go to if you need to have a chat about academic studies or about your mental health or just anything really is so needed at times quite a lot of stress, and it can just give you that time to wind down and listen to an adult and listen to their advice. And during year 13, especially when you're applying for those things like university and apprenticeships, that academic mentor becomes so important to you. I can certainly say, and I'm sure Emma can agree with me, that if I didn't have my academic mentor when I was writing my personal statement, I'd be very confused, and I wouldn't know what to write, and I wouldn't be in the position to be applying for universities like I am now. So I really can't recommend enough. If you join us, please always go to your academic mentor if you need their help, and don't feel like you're being silly or anything like that.
And the post-18 support here is truly exceptional, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that. The man who's been talked about so much this evening, Mr. Clark, is truly phenomenal, I can't speak, and he really, really cares about our students, and he really shows that. So I've just applied to university, and I decided that I would apply to the University of Cambridge, and I can hand on heart say that if I probably didn't go to the school, and if I didn't get the support from Mr. Clark, I wouldn't have applied, because I wouldn't have felt confident in myself, and I wouldn't have had the belief in myself to apply. But Mr. Clark was really motivating and encouraging, and said, look, Emma, what have you got to lose out on? You're capable of doing this. And like Hannah was saying, the personal statement can sometimes, people find it really difficult and confusing and put it off to the last minute. But actually, Mr. Clark gives really good support, taking us step by step through the personal statement. And he'd give up his time for me to have meetings with him every week to look through my personal statement. We'd send emails back and forth to each other. He'd be really vigorous in helping me take things out, cut down on my word count, add this in, Emma, take that out, you don't need that. And just really helpful. And he knows what universities are looking for, and he's up to date with that. And Mr. Clark isn't just there for the Oxbridge students, he's there for, anyone. If you want to go on to do an apprenticeship, he'll be more than happy to help with your application, and will take you through that process. And so his support is really invaluable. And I think both me and Hannah would agree that we've got really bright futures ahead of us, not only because of our hard work, but because of the support we've received and the opportunities that have been given to us during our time here. And when writing our personal statement, we've actually got more to write about than we have the space to, like all those extracurricular activities that you saw. And what I love about this school is that it doesn't just focus on the now. I mean, it definitely provides a great A-level experience, but it also equips us and prepares us to have really bright futures.
We'd now like to pass back over to Ms. McComb, who's going to talk a little bit more about the application process for post-16.
Okay.
Thank you. So just really quickly, how do you apply? And well done, because you started by coming tonight and kind of taking that step to start thinking about A-level subjects, which when you're in year 11 can feel quite daunting and quite scary, can't it? So well done for coming. The application process, if I had fan works, they'd be playing them right now. Start right now, okay? So what's going to happen after tonight? Please talk to subject teachers. I'm sure you already have done that. Please make sure you are kind of finding out about subjects now. After tonight, if you are a Bradley Stoke Community School student, you'll be completing an initial poll. And that initial poll is just really for us as a kind of team to work out what sort of subjects you are interested in. And it's just for us to find out. So don't feel worried about that. I think sometimes students who complete that initial poll said, I put these subjects, these are the subjects I have to do and I don't want to do them anymore. You don't have to do those subjects. It's just for us to start gauging and getting an idea. We will then send a letter home in December. And that letter home will have all the subjects that we are planning on offering for next academic year. So all of those, it's based on your initial poll and what you kind of write, but it will have all the subjects on there that we think that you guys will want to study next academic year. And we'll send that home in December. And that is your opportunity at home to start talking and start thinking about subjects and subject options and which are the right subject choices for you. We will then, in January, have one-to-one meetings with a member of the Post-16 team. So you'll have one-to-one meetings with a member of the Post-16 team. If you're an external student, you would have already applied online and kind of providing your email address means we'll send you out the link for that tonight. So you will have one-to-one meetings in January with a member of the Post-16 team, and that will be during the school day if you're a Bradley Stokes student. If you're not a Bradley Stokes student and you're an external student, then you'll be asked to come one evening after school to meet with Mr. Clark and start talking through exactly the same kind of process as we're doing in school with the Bradley Stokes students. Those conversations are really important, and they're really important because they start just us thinking about your options. And actually, one of the questions we ask in those kind of conversations in January is, do you know what you want to do in the future? And most of the time the answer is no, and that's absolutely fine. Most of the time, though, it's sometimes, I like to do medicine. And we say, well, if you like to do medicine, you need to think about this subject because they need this subject for you. So we will start thinking then about making sure we're getting the right subject choices for you. So that's so important, those one-to-one meetings, for that very reason. There is also, on the 5th of January, a parental drop-in just for you to come and speak and ask questions. It's worth putting that date in your diary because it's also Year 11 Parents' Evening for BSCS students, but that's open to everyone to come and talk to Mr. Clark about some of the options. Then, in April, you'll receive an offer letter home, and that will have some subject choices on it. Again, and I'm hoping that when you leave out the doors today, you'll have said, gosh, she banged on about that a lot, didn't she? And I am banging on about it a lot because the most important thing is we put you on the right subjects. So if your subject choices, if that letter comes home in April and you're saying, what did I do? Why on earth did I put those subjects? They are not my subjects. That's fine. You send an email, we chat, we talk, we change your subjects. The most important thing for us as a Post-16 team is that you are on the right subjects for A-level study, because that's the difference between having a really good experience and having an okay experience. So if that letter comes home in April and you think, nope, what was I thinking there? Why did I put that subject? Then we email, we chat, we talk again, and we change it. And that might happen 20 times, and it does sometimes happen 20 times, and that's fine because we want to make sure you're on the right subjects. So that's in April. And we will do a parental information evening for all our students, just so you know where we are at with things. In Term 6, there is a Post-16 Taster Day. Again, at the end of that Post-16 Taster Day, when you've practiced when you've had a taster of all your subjects, there's often a queue outside of my office going, why did I put that subject? Please, can I change it? And I say, yep, of course. Let's go back. Let's talk about it. Let's think about what you want to do in the future. What different options are there available to you? What's really taking your fancy? And then in the summer holidays, there is the bridge and work. Hannah's going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, so I won't talk too much. But again, so important because it gives you a feeler about what your subjects are like. And then on the 25th of August is your GCSE results day, when you'll get that confirmation letter saying, yep, come, all your subjects are good to go. But you might get a letter saying, you've not quite met the entry requirements for a certain subject. At that time, people either avoid me because they think I'm going to say they can't come to Post-16, or they come up to me in tears, and they don't need to do either because it's just usually a really basic conversation about, actually, you've done amazing in this subject, I've noticed this, have you thought about this subject instead of this one? So please don't hide from me on GCSE results day. I'm not scary. I'm there to be kind and support, to even make sure you're on the right subjects. I'm going to hand back over to the girls just to talk through slightly what you need to be thinking about over the next kind of few months.
Thank you very much. Yes, we totally get how difficult it is to pick your A-levels. So do make sure that you go and listen to our podcast episode on that. But we're going to tell you in a bit shorter about what some of our tips would be. So first of all, think about, what are you good at? Hopefully that should rule out a few subjects, but I know some of you here are probably one of those students that are good at everything. But also just think about what your strengths are. Do you prefer essay writing? Do you prefer kind of maths style? And think about how you prefer to be examined. Do you prefer to be examined by exams or by coursework? Because we do offer vocational courses here, and I think sometimes there's a bit of a stigma about taking them, but actually if that's how you work best and prefer doing coursework to exams, then that's totally fine. So make sure that actually when you talk to people about the subjects that you're taking, ask, how is this assessed at the end of year 13? Because actually you'll be surprised that some subjects which you would think would be completely exam actually have like 20% coursework in, so it's always interesting to think about.
Another question to start thinking about is what careers you have in mind. Now, that can also seem really daunting. Some of you are probably sat here thinking, I have absolutely no idea what I want to do, and that is perfectly okay. But just to note that if you are planning on going to university, or if that's one of the options that you're considering, some courses do require you to take certain A-levels. So it would be amazing to start looking at what type of A-levels are required now, so that you don't have a little bit of a fright like I did when you're applying for universities. But again, that's still okay. Mr. Clark is absolutely amazing and he can help. But a tip from me would be to start looking into what type of entry requirements are required. But again, the school does apply so many different careers opportunities to help support you in choosing what you want to do after you've left school and further education.
The next thing you should think about is, what grades will I get? Arguably, your A-level grades are far more important than your GCSE grades, although you should definitely still work hard for them. But your A-level grades are going to take you to your next place in life, whether that's an apprenticeship or university. So you want to get them as high as you possibly can. So me and Hannah, well, especially me, I really loved maths and was pretty good at it. But I just knew that maths wasn't as strong as my other subjects. I feel gifted in history and geography and the humanities. And so I could have taken maths at A-level, but I knew that actually if I did, I would come out with a lower grade than if I'd taken other subjects. So that also helped me to kind of decide which A-levels I should take.
So based on all of those questions, you need to start thinking about, what subjects do I really want to do? Now, I really recommend, if you haven't already, to read all of the subjects. Now, some of you might have an idea already of what 3 or 4 subjects you want to do, but I really do advise you to look at all of them, because there may be some of them, especially as there's 42 on offer, that you might not have considered but would be amazing for you to take. Emma and I both didn't take sociology at GCSE, but we do at A-level, and we both really enjoy it. And I wouldn't have even thought of taking sociology if I hadn't have talked to the subject teachers about whether I would fit it, about what's on being studied during those 2 years, and I'm so glad that I did. So please do have a look at all of the subjects and don't rule any of them out yet.
It's really important to be realistic as well, so check what the entry requirements are. So for some subjects it's slightly higher, so maths you need a 7, whereas in most other subjects you need around a 5. So make sure to, be realistic. Will I get those grades? And a great way to do that is to talk to your teachers. Talk to your teachers about the subject. Say, do you think I'd be right for this subject? Do you think I would get these grades? I had a conversation with Miss McComb about sociology, saying, do you think I would be a good sociology student? Would I kind of miss out by not doing it at GCSE? Would I be up to date with everything? And the other thing is to have a backup plan. It's never bad to have a plan B. Sometimes life takes unexpected turns. And I feel like, especially with the stress of GCSE, it's really nice to know that you've got something in the bag if all goes bad. So if you don't get the grades you want for subjects, then if you've picked other subjects with slightly lower entry grades, then that always is also really nice and reassuring.
So on the board now, if there's some contact information, if you have any more questions, if you want to access any more information, or if you have any queries, there's Miss McComb's and Mr. Wesley's emails there. And also, please take a listen to the Picking A-Levels BSCS podcast episode. Also, all of the rest of them as well. I'm sure Emma will want you to. If you have any more questions about how to choose them and how to feel happy with what subjects that you've chosen.
As I previously said, the resources and the spaces we have here at Post 16 are really lovely, and I think it's really worth having a look. You're going to be here for 2 years, so some of you may have already seen them, but if you haven't, you can book on Eventbrite for a tour to come and see them. So hopefully that will help you to make a really informed choice about where you want to study for the next 2 years.
So that brings our presentation to a close. Thank you so much for listening. We hope it's been insightful and that it's given you a glimpse into what post-16 life could look like for you. We really do think that communication here is key. So if you have any questions or any queries, please do not hesitate to speak to any member of staff or students you see, or Emma and I, on your way out. We'd be more than happy to help. Thank you again. Have a good evening and all the best with your GCSEs.